welcome to another episode of Beyond the Book. This is Gowtham Naidu from Authors Channel. We're a book publishing, distributing, and a marketing company. Today we have with us someone who I believe is redefining the way Indian mythology is being told. And you don't have to take my word for it. We have great storytellers like Kicha Sudeep Avru and Neelkantan Avru vouching for his work. And the author of these two books is who we have today. Rama of the Axe and its newly released sequel, Blade of the Fury. Welcome, Mr. Ranjith Radhakrishnan.
Thank you so much, Gowtham. Fantastic introduction. I hope I can live up to it. Let's see how your questions go. Thank you for having me on the show.
Yes. I need to thank you actually for writing the book on Parashurama because unlike other Vishnu Bhagwan's avatars like Rama or Krishna, when it comes to say avatars like Parashurama or Vamana, we don't get to see lots of attention towards these characters. What do you think is the main cause behind this?
Okay, probably the primary cause is you having one primary text for each of these avatars. You have the Bhagavatam for Sri Krishna, you have the Ramayana for Sri Ram. You don't, these books will give you the entire life journey of the avatar, right from childhood. What were the different crises he faced at different points of his life? What were the activities that he undertook? Who were the antagonists and how did he face those challenges? And on the way, along with their words and their deeds, what they teach you about life, what you should emulate about them or look up to them about. All this is there in one text that you can read and gather maybe 99% of the information you have about them. With Vamana, what has happened is it is an episodic kind of thing, where he comes for one particular purpose, which is to tackle Mahabali. And once Mahabali realizes his folly and takes refuge with him, actually, there is this misrepresentation that there's been injustice that's been done to him. And if you look at certain narratives that are ideologically, made, it is a Brahmin Vamana who's, taken away the rights or discriminated against a lower caste or a Dalit king. Mahabali himself is a Brahmin. You look at the three main protagonists in that story, Vamana, Shukracharya and Mahabali, all three of them are Brahmins. There is no other Varna there at all. And he actually hasn't been cursed. He's actually been blessed. Once he realizes his folly and once he takes Sharanagati in Mahavishnu, Mahabali is going to be the Indra. Indra is a position, it's not a person. It is a king of the Devas. That position is going to be granted to him for the next Manvantara. So among all the battles that you have seen, among Devas and Asuras, this is the Asura who is actually becoming Indra. Nobody has looked at it from that point of view. So he creates and it goes further and says that he's been put down into Patala. Okay, so we have these 14 worlds, but the place that he's in, there is a slight difference of opinion. There is supposed to be a different world called Sutala. And some other text tells you that Sutala is a part of Patala. So this Sutala is a place so magnificent. It rivals Indrapuri. It is so beautiful. And he is there waiting to become Indra for the next Manvantara. And his constant companion, when he's given this blessing, he says, the only thing I want is for you to be with me all the time. So Vamana is there with him. And there are two very interesting stories connected to this, where, they say Mahalakshmi got so fed up because Mahavishnu was there in Sutala with him. She goes there and says that, please let my husband come back. I will add my protection to his. And that's how Raksha Bandhan started. Oh. Okay, so that's why Mahabali's name comes when they tie the Raksha in the temple. That's how Raksha Bandhan started. That's one story. And another story is when Ravana was on the ascendant and he wanted to be the greatest Asura of all. He thinks of challenging Mahabali. And he comes to Sutala. And he meets Vamana. And Vamana says, before you go and fight that man also, you just try lifting his earrings. And Ravana is unable to do that. and he says, "You want to fight that man?" So then he goes there for counseling and, just to meet him and come. The fight doesn't happen. So there has been, a misrepresentation of that story. But then Vamana is just that. With Parashurama, what has happened is that a major portion of it comes in the Brahmanda Purana. But there is a whole lot of a story that's a bits and pieces elsewhere. The interesting story about him is that it seems that there is a text, okay, that we don't know. Okay. So I read this on a blog called Manasa Tarangini. I think he has a Twitter handle by the same name, and I think he's a Bhargava, Brigu lineage. So he says in the 16th century, there was this Maratha chieftain called Sabaji Pratap, and he had this Jagir in Ahmednagar or something, and he came across 5 books. Among these books were the Dattatreya Purana and the Agastya Mahatmya. Now, Agastya is another person we don't know much about. We hear bits and pieces of the story. We know he came down to the south of the Vindhyas and didn't go back. We know a little bit about how that Vatapi Jirno Bhava, that story, drinking the ocean, that little bit of a story. Maybe that should be a book sometime.
Book idea.
Yeah. So, to find these bits and pieces becomes a problem. So this man found these books and he compiled them into 3 books, and one of them is called the Bhrigu Vamsha Mahakavya. So that's the entire lineage of Bhrigus. And the other one is the Parashuramayana. So there is a Parashuramayana, which I don't know what the book contains. Maybe it is the life story of Parashurama and what he did. Till that comes out, please read Rama of the Axe and Blade of Fury.
It's a credible source, we'll take that. Yeah, but it's kind of sad, isn't it? So many manuscripts just lost to time. Because I remember another example being Chanakya's Arthashastra.
Yeah.
Whatever we know of Arthashastra now, we actually get it from what is it called? Megasthenes' Indica, which is actually an interpretation of Arthashastra. So we don't have, but still a close enough source.
Yeah.
So hopefully, whatever manuscripts that are going right now can be recovered and extracted to the fullest.
Yeah, hopefully that happens. I've read on social media that there are around 30 lakh manuscripts, something with the National Manuscripts Mission. I hope they are safe. I hope they get translated in time. And we keep discovering manuscripts every year. I don't know how many we are losing.
Yeah.
So just one point I remembered about the previous question that you asked. If you look at Sri Rama and Sri Krishna, there are certain things that are associated with them that are not associated with Vamana and Parashurama. One, there is a city or a kingdom.
Yeah.
There is Ayodhya and there is Dwaraka. They have extraordinary costumery to them. There's regal finery. There's yellow dresses, peacock feather, and the flute, and a whole lot of childhood exploits for Krishna. And you have royalty, you have a commitment to the wife, honoring his dad's word, taking on the most powerful man like Ravan. You have all this with Ram. And both of them have consorts. Okay, one in the case of Rama, many in the case of Sri Krishna. But both of them are grihasthas. So they are the ashrama code that we have. They are sort of aligned with that. But Vamana and Parashurama are brahmacharis. There is a story I've come across where eventually Parashurama does marry, but I don't find a primary source for that. So you don't have that, extraordinary costumes or that regal thing happening. Parashurama is of the forest. His father is a sage, who is most probably just a dhoti and an angavastram. Extraordinary warrior, but you don't have that. You can't build a Bahubali kind of story there with all that palace and the costumes and all that stuff is not there. So maybe that's one side of it. And then with the Bhakti movement, we've had a lot of music and dance and compositions that come for both Krishna and Sri Rama, but it's not there for Parashurama and Vamana. Probably because the entire story is not come out. So maybe once that comes, maybe it will spark an interest somewhere. and I hope my book also goes along in the way to do that. What I like to say, if Rama and Krishna are like the Ganga and the Yamuna, Parashurama is like Saraswati. We have heard of the river. Many people have told us it's just a myth that doesn't really exist. We know it does. We know it is subterranean. So, your Ganga and Yamuna are front of your eyes, pratyaksh. So it's easy for you to connect. For Saraswati, you have to dig. You have to. There is probably the story has not come out because the Avatara himself does not want it to come out.
Yeah.
People used to ask me this. So whatever I gave you, the answer I gave you before this was what I used to give before. So now my answer has changed a bit. So I think maybe Parashurama doesn't want it to come. The right time he will reveal his life story to you. Hopefully.
Yeah, just like you said with Sri Rama and Sri Krishna, it's the desirability factor, isn't it?
Yeah.
You want to live their kind of lives.
True.
But with Parashurama, I feel like these days you have a certain amount of relatability going towards him. His inner conflict between restraint and rage, being Brahmana and Kshatriya. Do you see it as a metaphor for a modern day man just trying to balance different aspects, different philosophies of his life?
I think it can not just for the modern day man, but from any age, it can be a metaphor somewhere. Because these stories are greater than the characters in the story themselves. I mean, they're not mere characters, they're more than that. Psychologically, they can be archetypes, something that you would like to emulate in your life. And every avatara teaches you something in their life, either through their actions or through the intention of the avatar itself. So maybe we have gone through an overdose of being very tolerant, or this ahimsa that has been told to us. These are himsa and ahimsa are two sides of the same coin. I don't know whether that's the right way of putting it, but you have to have something. You have to have an army to protect your borders so that your citizens can live peacefully without himsa. You need to have that force. So, if you cannot do violence, you're just a harmless person. But if you can do violence and choose not to, that's a different thing altogether. So that at least the threat of being capable of doing violence should be there to keep inimical people at bay.
In check.
Yeah, I think that has come out now. And we've had a lot of narrative gatekeeping happening over the years. Because there was one prescribed way of looking at things, stories, this is the way it has to be interpreted. It's come down. Probably our parents and grandparents did not have unless they were passing it down to their own kids, no way of spreading this out. With social media coming in, you have a lot of people who can bring this out. Like you have, so many stories like, the Mughals bought biryani. And then somebody will ask you, you say they come from the steppes, the more rice grows there. Then how the hell did they come up with something like biryani here? And somebody else will come and tell you, you know what, this is how dum biryani is made today. This is the recipe, you can find it in this book. And this was a book that's found in Tamil Nadu, written long before the Mughals even came to India. So people are coming out with stuff like this now. A lot of it, I mean, on both sides, there's misinformation. They call each other WhatsApp University, and then they throw a whole lot of ad hominem attacks and all this stuff. But you can safely ignore all that and look at people who are actually posting primary sources and telling you what this is. So that pendulum now has shifted. So people are no longer willing to take this tolerance, and it's just a virtue as of itself.
Yeah.
So what will Parashurama teach you today? So when people have been tolerant too much, you know that you are the one that's going to lose. You can't afford to. How many times will you turn the other cheek? When you've been slapped enough times, there will be something in every living being to punch back at least once. I think that has started somewhere in India. I mean, I'm not talking of physical violence. I'm saying that no, I mean, this is
the attitude in itself.
Yeah, the attitude itself has changed. That we are not going to take this lying down. Where we are not we are going to have our say at least. We are going to take a stand in some cases. If there is a border conflict and there's something happens, you don't expect your leaders or your army to say, yeah, we talked it over, now everything is fine. You want to see that. And now if that doesn't happen, society at large will be up against you. They wouldn't mind doing violence against you for you not doing violence where it was required.
Yeah.
So that attitude shift has happened. And I think it's a very welcome thing. You have to make a stand as a nation, as a culture, as a civilization. You do have to do this. Otherwise, you're going to get wiped out. Tolerating even the intolerant is just asking for trouble. It's just asking, come stamp all over me, wipe me out. We've lost so many civilizations this way. Why should you be one of them?
Okay.
So, from what I can make out, there's a lot of interest in Murugan and in Parashurama, and both are very aggressive, maybe very masculine, very martial gods, and people are looking for that. Probably even our leaders were looking for somebody who can take a stand, who's a leader, who will fight for you, who knows what's right and wrong, who will draw boundaries. Imagine if Parashurama was at the boundary, he was in charge, he was the chief of army staff or something. Something like this happens, he's not going to sit and talk. No, he's going to draw those boundary lines and make sure that you know where it is. You cross, he's going to make you pay for it.
He'll show you the consequences.
Yeah, he's going to give you the consequences and say, this is what he's going to teach you a lesson. He's going to put that fear in you and don't go there because this guy is there. Don't do that. So, even Sri Ram said it. Bhai bin preet na hoye. They're literally telling you that. But we've had this messaging all this while that, because Krishna's cuteness and all that has taken over from the warrior that Krishna is. So now we are seeing all this come out.
It's gotten subdued by other qualities, isn't it?
Yeah. The thing I feel sad about in the case of Parashurama is that, now we don't have a Namasmarana for him. We have for Krishna and for Sri Rama. And we have a lot of regimental battle cries. We have Jai Bajrangbali, Bhadrakalis there is. We don't have one for Parashurama. I don't know why that is. This is a warrior so great. He single-handedly fights Arjuna and his army. And he defeats them all. And that valor, that kind of power is not portrayed properly. We know him as an angry guy and all that stuff. But how powerful he was, I don't think has been really depicted. And we don't have a missile or a strike force or anything named after Parashurama. I think
it's well deserved. It'll be.
Yeah, it's well deserved. And if somebody from the army or something is listening, please do something. We'd love to have that.
Yeah. Not just about Parashurama, but even the antagonist here, the Kartavirya Arjuna, even he's being depicted as a grey character. He was depicted as a dharmic ruler at first, and then his moral descent into tyranny. Yeah. What made you just step away from this conventional good versus evil arc and show that this is actually multifaceted story? It has a lot of layers in it.
Yeah, I think that is the way he is described in the Purana itself. Because while researching the story, though it didn't make it into book 1, it's there in book 2. Very fascinatingly, I come across this stotra, and that's addressed to Kartavirya Arjuna. Now, people make a great deal of the Shiva Tandava stotra that is written by Ravana, but that is addressed to Shiva. Here you have a prayer that is addressed to Kartavirya Arjuna, who is the villain, the so-called villain in the story of Parashurama.
Okay.
How does that happen? And you know that, this person says he can read minds. Okay, and look at the wonderful interplay there is, because you have Kartavirya Arjuna who can read the minds of people who are in front of him. If you remember, there's this old movie of Devananda. It's called Jewel Thief. Okay, I think it came out 1970s sometime, and it's sort of like a thriller kind of movie. Beautiful songs in it. And there's one quality that Devanand's character has in it. He's got a photographic memory.
Okay.
So he reads anything once, it stays in his memory forever. The fantastic thing about it is, even if you were to look at all this as just stories that somebody wrote, somebody thought of this all those thousands of years back.
Yeah.
And the character who has a photographic memory is Parashurama. So you have a person who has a photographic memory, and against him is a person who can read his mind.
Yeah.
Okay. So there is these subtle things that people put in, and they don't, look at this. They're not saying underlining, italic, bold, nothing is there. They're just putting it there and leaving it. It's for you to,
Interpret.
make the connection and do that. So this thing about Arjuna is there. He's won all his boons through his tapasya. And he was a dharmic king till that sense of power and ego started growing in him. And he was warned by Parashurama's forefather, Bhrigu. Bhrigu was one of his gurus. And the guru who gave him most of these boons was Guru Dattatreya, and who happens to be the guru to Parashurama too. More about that later. So suddenly you see a disciple got bad and another disciple coming there to correct what he said wrong. You will find this play out many times, that they are not showing you a character that's inherently evil.
Yeah.
This is a man who wanted to do good. But once he started doing good, got to a place where he can do greater good, loses his way. And slowly by slowly, once he starts going astray a bit, keeps going down that way. So it's actually, I think that stotra to Kartavir Arjuna is there to tell you that this was once a good man. And he's now paying for his sins by having to do what the Stotra asks him to do. And there's this condition that Parashurama puts, comes in book 2, that this is what will happen, this is how you repay your debt. So, you're not only are you giving a person who went astray a chance, but you're giving him a karma to repay, to work out his sins, and then get reborn and then continue on your journey. I think that is fascinating.
Yeah.
You're not. It happens because of what we believe in rebirth, reincarnation, and karma. And all this. You're not going to find this elsewhere. But you have just one birth. You're bad. You burn in hell. You're good. Go to heaven. What are you going to do after that?
All these immense complex characterizations, it requires not just the story, but the words around it, it needs to be perfect as well. And I found out that you actually wrote this during COVID times. You were actually confined within 4 walls and you were able to just concoct a universe around it. How did you just achieve that output?
We are doing that right now. 4 walls, we are creating a universe and we're showing it to people. Actually that time creatively was the freest time I've had in my life. So because there was nothing to distract me from this work. My family had traveled to Chennai, and then the lockdown was announced and they were stuck there. So it was just me and my mother. My first short story had already been published. Second one was going to be published. That was a poem. It was a book called Aryaa.
Yeah.
And I had wanted to write this story about Parashurama for a very long time. So I got down to writing this. And I think the credit should go to my sister because she's the one who kept pushing me to write. And even the first one, the Shakuni story that got published, I wrote it, but I didn't send it. I showed it to my mother and she read it and she said, "It's good, you send it." And then luckily she comes back and said, "Did you send it?" I said, "No, there's just 2 days or something left for the last day," and then I emailed it. So maybe it was meant to happen at that time, so it just happened. My sister's been telling me for years and I didn't listen to it. Please listen to your sisters. So it wasn't 4 walls. You walk out, there's no traffic, there's no disturbance. I was cut off all my OTT subscriptions and all this stuff. I didn't even put on the TV, no YouTube. You read, you wrote, listened to music, whatever you had to do otherwise, you did. You had a lot of time, and I think I made the best use of it then. And you just had to get out of the rooms and you had an open sky. There's no walls in the sky, it's like endless. So dedicate so much of your time to one thing, you're invariably going to get somewhere with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just because that we have too many distractions and too many demands in our life that we are not able to dedicate that much time. So that the government took everything off, or China took everything off. I don't know whether we should say this, but that's when I got down to sit down to write. And some days it was like I didn't know when I started, when I ended, and I don't sit and plot, obsessively plot every single detail in the book right down. I know what I have to do in each chapter and where this is going to end. And I remember writing that chapter where Parashurama fights Mahadeva.
Yeah.
And before writing that, I had a completely different idea of where that will go. And I remember having a cup of tea, 8:30 something, sat down, started to write. And I just completed the chapter in one flow, which I have not done before. And I look at the time and it's suddenly 11:30, 12 o'clock, and I didn't know where the time went. And I said, okay, fine, at least I finished one chapter today, great work. I go out, I take a smoke, I come back in, and I said, let me read what I've written. And I'm like, how did I write this? Why did I write this battle this way? So this was meant as a foreshadowing for the actual battle that happens in book 2.
Okay.
But I didn't intend it to go this way. But it did. So that something happens to you when you sit down to write.
Zone.
Yeah, in that zone when you write. In school, when you're given essays and compositions, right, also, you are told to think about it. This is the subject, right? Okay. So when you doing something like this, your writing is actually your thinking.
Yeah.
Because you have a sort of goal where to go. You have I want to get to Chinnaswamy Stadium, but there are so many ways to get to Chinnaswamy Stadium. You don't know which way you're going to choose. That comes with your writing. So you think as you write.
Yeah.
As you go, something comes and you go down. You should be willing to go down those rabbit holes that come up, no? Because rabbit holes are very interesting places. You go down, you shouldn't lose your way. You just have to see where it takes you. So, in a way, it sounds very bad to say it, but in a way, I'm happy lockdown happened because my first book came because of that. I don't know how long it would have taken otherwise. So I wrote first 5 chapters and I was like, okay, this is going to be good reading. So I sent it to my mom, my sister. I have a co-author called Bharati, 2 of my cousins. And 3 days later, they came back and said, yeah, we loved the chapters. Very good, damn good. I didn't know all this happened with Parashurama. And then, okay, I said, great, they all like it. I sat back, started reading and all that stuff. 2 days later, they said, where's the next chapter? I was like, come on. So
they got a taste of it. They wanted.
Yeah. So they wanted me to. That actually pushed me.
Okay.
So every 10, 14 days, they wanted a chapter delivered.
Okay.
It's like those stories that come in those magazines, no?
Yeah.
Every week, one chapter. That's how I was able to finish book 1 that fast. And so COVID worked out good for me.
Yeah, there are just some sequences after watching a movie or after reading it just kind of sticks with you. And for me, one such sequence was this dialogue exchange between the Saptarishis and Parashurama, where they talk about the concepts of karma and dharma. It's just, did you realize you were writing something iconic when you finished sculpting these sentences?
Thank you for using the word iconic. I love it. And thank you for choosing Tribhuvan Prashna, because I thought it will be those battle sequences and all that stuff that will come. But that was a very interesting chapter to write, a tough chapter to write too. Because we're told that he's a Chiranjeevi.
Yeah.
And then now we are told that he's a Saptarishi. So he's going to be the Saptarishi for the next month. The Saptarishis are like 7 great sages.
Yeah.
Now, how does one get to be a Saptarishi? Is Mahadeva going to appoint you? In that case, we don't have a story of Mahadeva appointing him as Saptarishi. I didn't find that in the Brahmanda Purana. So how did this happen? And why would this happen? How would somebody be chosen as a Saptarishi? So how do I get this across that, okay, if I'm telling my readers that Parashurama is a Saptarishi, I have to tell them why, how. I can't just make a statement and then leave it there. Because if I do that, it will be, what is the interesting thing there? So this became a point where I thought I could bring his philosophy, what he teaches. Every avatar teaches us something through his actions, the time and place that he comes for, what he says, like Bhagavad Gita, what Sri Krishna says, what Rama does. There is a teaching there. And this avatara, these teachings have not been told to us. We have the image of a very arrogant, aggressive man. But what does he really teach? What does he stand for? We are told revenge because Arjuna did something wrong. But was that just revenge? Wasn't that justice? Wasn't that dharma? If that was dharma, what is this dharma that he is fighting for? There is that context to the time and place that he appeared. What is he trying to say? So when you look at that, you will come across one hymn in the Rig Veda that is attributed to Rama Jamadagnya. That is Rama, the son of Jamadagnya. And it's so fascinating that it is a hymn to three goddesses, Saraswati, Ila and Bharati, the three goddesses who sit in truth and come to hurt not. And you have this very arrogant, so-called arrogant, aggressive, violent man. And these hymns are not composed by the rishis. These are seen, they're called mantra drishtas. They see it, it's revealed to them. And this has been shown to him. You look at the irony there itself, and then you start to wonder, okay, I already had an inkling there's much more than this violence to him. And I have to bring this out to the reader. And he has written one of the seminal texts of Tanta. It's called the Parashurama Kalpa Sutra. And that entire book is dedicated to Lalita Tattva. So he thinks the Parabrahman is Parashakti. That God is feminine. So we are not living in a universe. We are living in a universe. Because everything comes from the womb of Devi. Parashurama has, that's what everything is Parashakti. So how do I bring this into that? So the reason I sort of chose this question answer thing was long time back. I had this red hardbound copy of the Mahabharata. I think it was P. Lal's, written by P. Lal. My dad had kept it away from me because it was too young and he didn't want me to damage the book. But when I started reading it, I was fascinated because in the middle of the book, there were these color photographs, color painting kind of thing where you had Bhima and all this stuff to show you Abhimanyu fighting with the chariot wheel. Now, that's why I picked up the book. I started to read and I couldn't put it down. So till I got to the Yaksha Prashna, Yudhishthir was like, okay, this is another character. We were only fascinated by Bhima and Arjuna.
Yeah.
And then this question answer session happens. And he gives such brilliant answers.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, man, this guy is, Yudhishthir is something. So after that, he becomes hero for me. Okay, this man is, it's not simply that they want him to be Samrat and all that. So every story from the Puranas or something that I've read, I wanted another Yaksha Prashna. I wanted somebody to be doing this. The matching of wits. There is a question that comes out of the blue. The other person doesn't expect it.
Yeah.
He's made to think. Or he gives an answer and they ask you a question, from that answer and that you've not thought about that. I wanted all this to come in that question thing. So that was a very difficult chapter for me to. For me, after that, I think the only thing that has come somewhere close is that Vikram and Vetal stories, where every time there's a challenge thrown to Vikram by the Vetal, Singhasan Batti, see that thing. So I wanted to create a little bit of that magic here, and those three sages that come have a part to play in 3-2. And I wanted to make it interesting. So I took a long time to write that chapter because sometimes I had the answer, but I didn't have the question. What would the question be to this answer? So I had to go frame it.
Okay.
Sometimes I had the question, it would just come to mind, but I wouldn't know the answer. So when he's asked, what is the yantra of your path? And it's okay, we are talking about bija mantras, we are talking about yantra. There has to be something about his path. No, what is his? He's teaching a new way. He's combining the Vedas and Tantra. So what was the yantra of your path? And I didn't have an answer. So I continued writing till I come to the chapter later on where I literally wrote myself into a corner. The tragedy happens and he's in this cave, and now he has to reach out to his guru, and he doesn't know the yantra of the guru or anything of the sort. And I'm stuck here and I'm stuck there, and I don't know what to do. And since it was just, I just got a little bit into the chapter, I wanted to stop. And I was telling myself, rewrite the chapter, do something else, don't put him in a cave. And somehow I just stuck with it, and I thought, okay, there must be something. And you Google, you will get hundreds of yantras. But this had to be something unique, He's not looking for Dattatraya's yantra, he's looking for a path to the Guru. Okay, so actually this question in Trikona Prashna became a foreshadowing to that. Completely unintended, because I was stuck there, I was stuck here. So that's when by chance I came across this Tetractys, and it was like one aha moment for me. I said, this is what it is. And I use that, though it is not part of our culture. I think there's nothing that can fit it more. I can't come across a yantra or a symbol that fits that requirement that he needed then. It worked perfectly with what I wanted to do. And now I had to find a Sanskrit name, and nobody could give me a Sanskrit name for it because it doesn't exist.
Okay.
So AI had come, and I started asking the AIs. Everybody was like, the answer was this. And I don't know Sanskrit personally, but I do know a lot of people who learned Sanskrit. And I went and asked them, and I said, no, there's no name for this. And I was like, I have to find a name. What do I do? Final thing was, I had to continue writing. I couldn't wait for this. So I just wrote a triangle of 10 bindus, and I went on. And I keep coming back and asking, I don't know which AI it was. Maybe it was Grok. I don't know. I asked, what is this? And it came back to the same answer. And it said that, no, it's Pythagorean symbol, Tetractys, and there's no Indian equivalent. But if you want to describe it in Sanskrit, since it is a triangle of 10 bindus, it is Dasa Bindu Trikona. And I was like, what a fool I am, because that's exactly what I wrote. And this is not some words that I don't know. Dasa Bindu Trikona, I could have written myself. Why did I have to go and ask this? So, it's when I got through this, when I realized that the yantra was already there for his path. And that reaction when I write, when he thinks about it, and then he says, oh my God, it was already there. It's actually happened to me, because it struck me that the rune on the axe can be used as the yantra then. So then I go back and write that there. So I'm happy you liked Trikona Prashna.
Yeah.
Took a lot of effort to write that.
Yeah, I've actually read that, while much of India sees the Rama and Sita as the perfect couple, people of Bihar see Shiva and Parvati, because they're not really that fond of Ram, because they weren't really a fan of how he wanted Sita to prove herself, because they really saw her as a daughter of their soil.
Okay.
And I feel like similarly, the people of, let's say, coastal Karnataka, Kerala, they have a more nuanced understanding of what Parashuram was, what he is, and what he went through. So I feel like you people, the Karnataka, Kerala coastal people, so you wanted to tell the story out there to the world, is it? Like, he's not just another cut and write violent guy. He has a story to him. He has past. He has the reasons to him. Was that one of the reasons why you just chose to focus on this character and write a trilogy?
I had no such intention at all. See, there's this temple outside Trivandrum, Thiruvananthapuram, a place called Tiruvallur. So when someone passes away in your family and you have to do the death rites, after a year you go to this temple. And that was the first time I was going to a Parashurama temple. And I realized that, look around you, you search in Bangalore, you'll probably find one Parashurama temple somewhere near Kolar. You're not going to find too many. And you are wondering how come I don't know much about him. I know the Dashavatara. And how it never struck me to find out about Parashurama. That's when we started finding out. And we get these bits and pieces of information. Agreeably, there's a lot more information here because some of the local legends are connected to him. So now, if it's in Kerala, you know that Kalaripayattu is started by him and Agastya. There are two schools. So that way you hear about Parashurama. And there was this old Malayalam actor called Prem Nasir. He holds a Guinness Book of World Records for the most number of films acted as a hero. Something like 720 movies he's been hero. He's got, 30 movies releasing in a year, 1970s and all stuff. So he's very famous, very nice man. So there's this joke that somebody went and asked him, what Malayalam film stars are paid so low? Everybody else gets paid so high, how come? And his answer was, when Parashurama threw his axe, he should have thrown it a little further. We would have had more land, more theatres, I would have got more paid. Okay, so it lives on in your local usage and all that stuff, because it's Parashurama Kshetra finally. So when Kerala government releases his ad, it says God's own country. They didn't realize which God it is. It is a very secular thing. But the God is Parashurama. This is Parashurama's own country. So from Gokarna to Kanyakumari is Parashurama Kshetra. So once that land itself is associated with an avatar, there's a lot of folklore and folktale that will get associated with him. And this sometimes doesn't make it everywhere. But Andhra also has a connection. The oldest Shivalinga that you find is in Gudimala. That's Parashurama's, it has been consecrated by Parashurama. So now you have folklore that says that 108 Shiva temples and 100 Devi temples were consecrated by Parashurama. This is an avatar of Vishnu who's doing this. Okay, and you've heard of Trishul Puram, this biggest festival, those elephants that come out. That temple, that Shivalinga is supposed to be left there by Parashurama. So he's connected like this with a lot of temples. That original Murti of Shabrimala, Ayyappa, was supposed to be carved by him because nobody could get the posture right. And he had to come and do this. So a lot of folk tales get connected that way. And there are actually, I think, 13 Devi temples that are built in a particular architecture. Okay, so you will always have that architecture is called the Rurojit Vidhana. So you will have a Murti of the Devi in one particular direction. You will have a Shivalinga in one particular direction. And in relation to this, another particular direction, you will have Ganesha, you will have Veerabhadra and the Saptamatrikas. And this insanely powerful temple. You walk into those temple premises itself, you can feel there's some ancient power there. It's that good. Okay, so you suddenly discover this. So this temple layout is the layout of the temple that he sees in book 2. The first Shiva temple that he goes, and when he goes, the temple has changed. So that temple layout is what Rurojit Vidhana is all about. And you have not heard this word before. People up north would not know. This is a temple architecture style, and Parashurama is the creator of it. Okay, you go to Himachal, there is a festival that's happening on a particular Ekadashi, where on the hilltop is Parashurama's temple, and his Murti is brought down to Renuka's temple. And there is an 11-day fair and festival that happens there. And that lake is where Renuka is supposed to have given up her life. Now, it's bits and pieces like this. Arunachal Pradesh has a Parashuram Kund. There's a festival there too, because he's supposed to wash his axe there. Aihole gets his name because he's supposed to wash his axe there. So, putting this all together becomes a challenge. There are parts of these stories, seemingly no connection. How do I connect this one hymn in the Rig Veda with Tantra, with this Stotra of Kartivirajana, and the axe that drinks blood. He puts it into a river to wash it, and the river turns red. Means it's holding that much blood. Why does it need to do it? So that's a question you ask.
Yeah.
Instead of just accepting the fact that the axe is drinking blood, why should it drink blood in the first place? Because no other weapon does that. And this is the only weapon that seems to do it. Why should it do it? So what's the secret to the axe being there? So building that thing was his book to connect as many of these points that I can get and bringing it together. The funny thing is, I finished writing the book, it goes for edit, and we are in round 3 or round 4. And there's a friend of mine, Vijay Krishnan Iyer, who was helping me with the Sanskrit and all this stuff, and he accidentally again comes across something on the net, and from all the research that I did, I didn't come across this because it's a transliteration of a Tamil book, and Tamil has Cha and Ja as the same alphabet. So whoever transliterated this didn't say Jama Javadagni. He went with Chama Javadagni, and I completely missed it. And it turns out that the oldest extant Tamil manuscript that we have is something called the Tolkappiyam. Okay, this is supposed to be a book rewritten. You have an earlier book called the Agatyam, which is the rules of grammar that Agastya wrote for Tamil. That was lost. Okay, so his disciple writes it, and because that book is Tolkappiyam, he is called Tolkappiyam, but he has an actual name, and there is a belief of where he was born in Kanyakumari and all this stuff. But this book, which is a commentary on Tolkappiyam, written years later, says that Tolkappiyam is Jamadagni's son, which means he's Parashurama's brother. And he's got a name. So that is the name that I've given in book 2. He becomes Agastya's favorite disciple, comes down south with him, and then he writes Tolkappiyam. So there is a connect there. So all this division that they make, north, south, and all this stuff, our Puranas are not that way. They didn't see that north-south thing at all. I remember reading this book that has been published by the Sahitya Academy. And it tells you the similarities in the literature of Tamil Sangam and Sanskrit from the time of Bhasa onwards. Okay, some of it is used even today. You have a lot of songs in almost every language. You take the film songs, you will find a monsoon song where the hero and hero are separated and they're longing for each other, and then it's like the monsoon is there as the metaphor of their thing. Okay, this was started then. The monsoon as the Viraha Bahava for your beloved. Okay, you have a very famous messenger poem, the Meghadutam, Kalidasa. Kalidasa. It's there in Tamil Sangam poetry. That the wind in the bamboos, likened to the sound from a flute, this is there in both. So these were languages that have exchanged ideas and had respect for each other. Nobody was sitting and fighting about who's superior and who's older and all that stuff. Our ancients didn't do it. But why are we sitting and wasting our time doing this? Agreed. When you have Parashurama's brother is the author of your oldest extant manuscript, doesn't that show you the connect? Now, are you going to now say Parashurama is a Northi? He was south of the Vindhyas himself. But you have always associated him with Brahmin, Aryan, something. And now look what's happened. So you are creating a divide that isn't there. You are trying to push that belief beyond what people can take. Our Puranas don't support that.
I feel like
that's not a political statement. But I just had to tell you what is there.
No, that's all right. It's all just candid. I feel like all this divide has ensured that our stories, our cultural, traditional story doesn't get told on a grand scale, I am actually a huge fan of this animated web series. It's called Avatar: The Last Airbender. It's just absolutely fascinating. It's just made by Americans, but it contains a dharmic undertones throughout. It basically talks about how an avatar tries to restore dharma by defeating a tyrant king. And there's this Japanese rendition of the Ramayana film as well. So yes, we have foreigners who are interpreting our stories so well, trying to tell our stories well, but slowly, I feel like in India also these things are coming up now. What do you think is the reason that we are reconnecting with our roots these days?
Definitely, there is a renewed interest in this. Probably one of the reasons is, like I told you, the gatekeeping no longer exists. We are not told how to interpret our stories by other people sitting above us, and they are not giving us a decree and saying this is how you shall look at the story. A lot of it has been mangled already, and there are people who are, when we look at stories that are being told, and we are told that, Andeka Putra Andha, Draupadi says this, and that's the reason for the whole Mahabharata war. Then you have another trope that says she was secretly in love with Karna. You won't find that anywhere. So when you take your artistic freedom, it's like the easiest thing to do is to make the bad guys good, the good guys bad. Or make everybody grey. Do stuff like this. We've been getting that kind of stuff for a very long time. It's now that people are really telling you the stories as they were originally written. And if we can tell it entertainingly, keep them hooked, make them turn the page, I think probably as writers, the greatest service we can do to our civilization is to tell kids now and generations from now what your stories are, because they form a part of your identity. And there actually is that curiosity to, you were talking about idealism before. There is that curiosity that comes before that idealism. No, what should be my ideal? That curiosity is there. They want to know their stories. Because, we have seen actually when I was growing up around, I have seen every country stand up for their what they believe in. You've seen you'll see one random scene in some Hollywood movie where it has nothing to do with the story at all. The hero will be in a Ford or a GM car or something or other. The guy will be in some Toyota or something or other. The Toyota breaks down and this guy is saying "Buy American." They always stand up for their country. It's only here that we are always, trying to shrink ourselves down. This is not what the common people wanted. This was forced down on us from above. That no longer exists. That narrative control has gone. So there are a lot of people who are not just writing stories, but who are like the biryani thing that I told you, where they said the biryani was bought by the Mughals, and people are asking, they don't even have rice there. Then better they get the recipe to make this. And then somebody else will come and tell you, see, this is from this book. This was written in Tamil much before the Mughals came, and this is exactly how dum biryani is made today. They'll tell you stuff like this. Then they'll tell you tandoor was bought by them. Then they'll show you the IVC stuff where there's a tandoor and there is still some bird bones or something. So there are people challenging that thing and busting those myths today. So suddenly there is, this interest going along, saying that, what? The first thing, we were lied to. We were given this false thing. I still remember my history textbook. They told us that Ashoka, Kalinga was the only kingdom that was defined. So he went there and conquered them, but he was so overwhelmed by the bloodshed and the killing that he became Buddhist. Now people are telling you that he was Buddhist 4 years before the Kalinga.
It was actually greatest piece of propaganda that he was able to conduct. Even till date, he's been seen as a peaceful king.
And then somebody else comes and says, you know what? In our history, we never said Ashoka the Great. It was just Ashoka. It was the British that made him the Great. And then you're like, oh my God, why wasn't I told all this? So if this can happen to your histories, imagine what has been done to your stories. How much do you believe that you will find very, very virulent Karna fans even today? They've gone to the extent of saying, unless Krishna was there with Arjuna, it would have been a completely different scenario. I said, bro, why are you stopping there? Go one more step. No, Karna is the one who gave Bhagavad Gita to Krishna and told him, go tell him. Why are you stopping here? It's amazing how much has gone.
Yeah.
So we need to tell our stories how they were actually told to us, tell it entertainingly, and somehow get people to, who are interested in readings. They have to be aware that a book like this is there.
Yeah.
So thank you for this.
I feel like the floodgates have been opened quite a bit now.
Yeah.
People want to see it. If I've been like to hear what else I've been like to.
Yeah. I think the change will come when, see, even now if you look at the films, no, they're still showing stuff that is being disputed and disproved a long time back. Like you saw Kalki, what happened? It's Karna who's coming and saving Ashwatthama. From what I have read, Ashwatthama has saved Karna so many times in that Kurukshetra War, but that's not shown. So I think it'll take time to get there, but I think that turning point will come when our popular media starts reflecting this.
Yeah.
When it is no longer that underdog, poor Karna, look how he was all injustice. When that changes, when that sympathy is taken off and says, no, he actually is not this way. But when that reverts, then I think we've made that critical mass has reached there. But till then, we have to write what is right.
Yeah. Excellent point there. Write what is right. Again, talking about writing what is right. Parashuram, he needs to be written about in the right language also, isn't it? And that's why you're also publishing in Kannada language as well. And nam tumba khushi agtide first. Thank you for that. Because I feel like whatever character depth you were able to bring out in this, which was immense to say the least. But I feel like in Kannada, basically in the native local language, you can add that extra bit of character depth.
Thank you for that. It was sort of like a little bit of obstinacy that I had to bring it out in Kannada first. I'm a Bengaluru person. My origins are in Kerala. I've studied, grown up here in Bangalore. So I wanted the Kannada translation first, and Hindi and everything else to come later. So luckily it has happened, and luckily I've got a great translator. So I think the cover of the book is just ready. And edit is happening, so we should hear an announcement very soon.
I can't wait for that.
Yeah, and because it is part of Parashurama Kshetra, it's good that Kannada comes first and then Malayalam comes. Then it will be nice. And see, I read the Brahmanda Puranam in Malayalam. So while writing this book, I did not think of wanting to give the English equivalence of many words. Sometimes instead of Atma, you use soul. You use stuff like that because it's easier instead of repeating Atma every time. But the names of the trees or the Ayurvedic herbs, something like this, I deliberately left it there because I thought that when you talk of world building, this is also a part of it.
Great.
Because instead of saying a pine tree, you're going to be thinking, what is a pine tree? But if I tell you the name of what the tree usually is, you probably would have heard a Kannada equivalent of it, or you would have heard this name somewhere else. So it sort of grounds you into the story. It also gives you a feeling that, this is an olden story. It's not a modern story that's being said. It sort of takes you back to the time. That's the power of language. And if you're able to get that feel in Kannada, I would be so grateful for that. And Parashurama is connected to Karnataka and Kerala, so I really hope it's well received.
I would say that you made the right decision when it comes to saying those tree names and all, because all these names in the Sanskrit version we would have heard from our grandparents or so. But the English names you would have learned from our schools. True. And we won't be remembering that all these scientific names and all those things.
True.
And I want to ask another important question. You wrote many anthologies as well, right? About Shakuni, Tushara Swayamvara, and Aryaa. Did they prepare you? Was it a conscious decision that you were gonna dabble in this first and then go to the Parashurama trilogy, or was it just throughout in the flow?
I mean, like I said, I did not intend to be a writer. So I saw this thing on a tweet which said that we're looking for stories on these characters on the Mahabharata and all that stuff. And my sister said, "Why don't you write? I've been asking for such a long time, telling you to do it." And I said, "It's a short story. They have a word limit of 7,000 or something, 8,000. Not much work we can do." So I went and looked. And I picked Shakuni because I thought nobody will pick it. Okay. So I have a better chance. So, and he's a pretty fascinating character in this movie.
Yeah.
Most people don't know that he didn't have a limp. That limp that you see in the serials, now everybody shows a limp. But what originally happened in that B.R. Chopra Mahabharata was, I don't know if the story is true, I saw it on social media, that on the day of the shoot, Goofy Penthal, who was playing Shakuni, got injured on his leg. They couldn't stop the shoot. So he said, "You limp and you play the character." And now everybody thinks Shakuni limps.
Such an impact.
No, that visual media has such a huge impact on people. That's why I said when these stories are made into movies, that's when the thing will shift. And this man he's not a coward or something of the sort. He's not somebody who's very manipulative. He actually once advises Duryodhana to stop all this jealousy, give it back to them. He actually does that also once. He survived 18 days of the war. He dies only on the 18th day. And he's been fighting, he has had to retreat, he's been defeated, but he never stopped fighting and stayed away and all that stuff. So that story was about one day in the 18 days of war, and choose one of these people. So I chose Shakuni and I wrote the story. I showed it to my mother. She said, "Very nice, please send it." And I didn't send it.
It was the start of something special. Thank you for that.
I haven't thanked my mom and my sister for it. My mom luckily remembered. I said, "Did you send?" I said, "No." He said, What are they going to do?" Say, No. You just send. Got selected. It got published by Bloomsbury. So I could tell Westland, my publishers, that there was this short story that's been published there. And by the time Rama PX came out, the second anthology had already come out. That's Aryaa. And we would write about a women, a woman character from the Mahabharata or from the Puranic tales who was not too well known. So, as usual, like I picked Shakuni, I went and picked somebody. There's nothing about her. So when Balraman doesn't take part in the war, he goes on this Tirtha Yatra of the Saraswati. And one of the Tirthas where he stops is about this lady who was an ascetic. We don't even know her name properly. Who had to get married before she could attain Swarga. And that Tirtha is her Tirtha. And because her father was Kunigarga, and through his tapasya he created her, she's called Kunigarga. So it went to the other extreme. Nobody knows her name, nobody knows her stories in the Mahabharata. I said, "Okay, fine, great. This is what we will write about." So while writing about it, somehow I thought that the idea that came to my mind is that it should be something that should be performed. It should be performed like how Yakshagana or Kathakali is performed before, in front of a huge lamp with those, and you have people singing the rhymes, and there's a person enacting it with elaborate costume and all that stuff. I wanted that kind of a feel. I thought prose won't be enough; it should be a poem. And I wrote it free form, and then it was later changed to Ottavia Rima. That's a different kind of a poetic style, and I wanted that flow of thing. And now when you ask me, this is when I remember there was this little bit of a Yaksha Prashna in that. I didn't make that connection till now because she's a very old woman, but she has to get married. So her offer is, whoever marries me, I give half of my tapasya. So you can also attain higher lokas. And nobody wants to take an old woman for a wife. And neither do they believe in this tapasya thing. So when a young man he's like 20 or something, steps up and says, I will marry you. Now she's like, okay, I have to test him. Okay, see if his intentions are right. And then she asks him 4 or 5 questions. I never realized that till now that I had already done one prashna there in that poem. So she asks him some questions and then he passes that test and he says, okay, I'll take you as my husband. And they are husband and wife only for one night.
Okay.
She passes away after that. So that being husband and wife for one day and then her passing away and attaining Swarga was such a beautiful moment that I thought, it has to be a poem. It has to be something that, when I say this, there's another connection that came through because the ending part of the poem, the last word of that poem, is a question in Trigona Prashna.
Okay.
So when they ask you, the Om is the sound of creation, what is the sound of Maya? And he says, Tathastu. Tathastu is the last word of that poem.
Oh.
I didn't realize that. Thank you for bringing it up.
I guess it just stuck in you subconsciously.
Yeah.
Ever since you first read it.
Yeah.
And you've just been implementing it throughout.
Yeah.
Maybe you've been implementing the other works as well. You need to revisit everywhere.
Yeah. There's only Shakuni. So great. It struck me now that maybe that's where this idea of Trikona Prashna came.
Yeah.
Because I was already through with book 1 and I started book 2. Before book 1 came, I started book 2.
Okay.
So I hadn't written it, but maybe because I knew it was coming in the future, so subconscious went forward and back and then took me forward.
Great. Just my final question to you.
Okay.
Any updates on the trilogy? The final book on the trilogy?
Okay, I started writing it.
Okay.
I don't know when I will finish it because you're told that he meets Sri Rama. You're told that he meets Sri Krishna. You're told that he's the guru of Kalki.
Yeah.
So he's definitely going to meet him. What about the 9th? So that is the 9th the Buddha or is it Balarama?
Okay. It's kind of a controversial topic.
Yeah, it's we have to work out. You get stuck somewhere, you have to stay there.
Yeah.
If you give it up and go, no, then there's no.
Let's take up a challenge.
Yeah, so something will come. I just have to wait it out.
Yeah.
And see what can be done there. Yeah. And there are some questions I have left in book 2.
Okay.
Like his guru says I've come 3.5 times.
Yeah.
That I have to answer all those questions also.
You need to tie all the knots.
Yeah, all the knots.
Yeah. It's gonna take some time, but I'm sure it'll be worth the wait.
I hope so. I really hope so.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Ranjith Radhakrishnan. It's been a pleasant conversation. As much as I enjoyed it, I also learned a lot about our cultural and traditional history, which I'm just thankful for. And to all the audience watching, I hope you enjoyed as much as I did. And please do check out these books, part of the Parashurama trilogy. It's an absolute page turner. It just takes you along a gripping ride. And finally, do like, share, and subscribe. Please also share your thoughts in the comment section. Thank you.